welcome. How are you doing today? Whatever the title of this video is, I promise it's not clickbait. I wouldn't do that to you. However, I would abandon you for like a month and a half and then come back like nothing happened. A lot has happened, and we're gonna talk about it. So I've been keeping a secret. That's the big deal. I've been keeping a secret. I've known about this secret since late November, but I was keeping the secret for good luck, right? You gotta zip it. So, Christmas. My parents divorced when I was little, so I've always had to do 2 Christmases. And now that my little sister is married, she has to do her own split custody between her family and her husband's family. So, like, I get it. I'm on board. So, did my other Christmas with my mom and them. And Christmas Day, I was going to spend with my dad. I don't know what I had imagined in my head, but when I said, yeah, I have Christmas Day, all for you. But he texted me on Christmas Eve and was like, cool, so Christmas at your place? And I was like, oh, I hadn't considered that I would need to be hosting Christmas. Ugh. So I spent all of Christmas morning and afternoon, trying to clean everything up so that I could host company. I'm sorry, someone's sending me text messages and I gotta get rid of it. Sorry. So my dad comes over, we have Christmas, I cooked dinner, we're having a good time. He gives me this box and he's like, before you open it, I want to tell you the story. And I'm like, okay, I love a good story. My dad has great stories. No matter how many times he's told them, I still like to hear it again. So he tells me about my gift and how he was Christmas shopping at the Armadillo Christmas Bazaar. He found this booth of this really cool handmade glass art, and he spoke to the artist herself and her process, and it was all very cool. And one particular necklace really stuck out to him, and he felt like he had to get it for me. So he pays for it, and the sales girl goes to give him his receipt, and he realizes, oh, it was that much? And she goes, yeah. And he tells her, you didn't tell me it was going to be that much. She said, well, you didn't ask. The sales girl asks, do you still want to buy it? And he's like, well, I think I already did. So he's telling this story, I guess let me know that he had this quirky little mishap and accidentally spent more money, but then didn't regret it because he still wanted me to have the thing, right? So I opened the box, and inside is this beautiful glass necklace. Each of these beads are made by hand by this woman who blows glass. And I think it is really cool. I understand why it spoke to him and was like, I need to get this, Danielle specifically. So I pull it out of the box, and the price tag was still on it. It was $240. I was like, Dad. Because he'd made such a big story about, I didn't know it was going to be that much because they didn't tell me how much it was. They probably thought that he could see the price tag that was on it. And I know he didn't leave it there on purpose, because when I was like, Dad, it was on there. He snatched it out of my hand and took it off. So I asked my dad if he wanted to sit down and eat the food that I'd cooked and watch something on TV or whatever. I don't have a television, but I do have a computer and access to someone else's Netflix login. But my dad was like, no, how about we listen to jazz radio? And because I was tired and worn out, I'd been cleaning and tidying up and I hadn't eaten all day. I don't know what my facial expression was, but I can't imagine that I had looked more insulted or disappointed or are you fucking serious? I don't think that he knows that No the Fuck Buddy wants to listen to jazz radio. Even if it's a really good radio show, you're not selling it well by telling me it's fucking jazz radio. Because growing up in Austin, we had a smooth jazz radio station that just played smooth jazz all day. I don't know who was listening to it besides my dad. But then later on in the early 2000s, that radio station, the jazz radio station, became a fucking techno station. Good lord. But so, we did tune into the internet jazz radio, and it actually was a really good show. Really should have sold it better, but it was good. So, playing guitar, listening to music, singing, having a good time with Dad, I let the secret slip. I said, Dad, can I tell you a secret? Yeah? I said, well, I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Maybe I shouldn't tell you. Well, no, I already told you that I have a secret. You can't tell anybody. You don't have anybody to tell. So I spilled the beans. My sister, at the time, was 10 weeks pregnant. So a couple weeks go by, and my sister has gone to her appointments. She's now gotten all of the genetic testing results. And she has now found out, the sex of her growing bundle of cells. And listen, I told her, if it's a boy, I will help you abandon him at the fire station. But apparently she plans to, like, keep the motherfucker and take him home with her. So, it's a boy. But I was excited about that, right? Well, I mean, excited to, like, know who, like, potentially who this little motherfucker's gonna be. I mean, at least I know what organs he'll have. I don't know what she names him, and I don't really care because I'm not going to call him that. And my sister should know better than to think that anyone in our family is going to call that child by the name she chooses. I rarely get called my own name. And I'm not talking about my mom accidentally calls me my sister's name. She does that too. But she calls me Starla, Darla, Arlene, Marlene, Roxy, Foxy, Beverly. That's what she does. That's what she's always done. Her father did it too. And so did her sister Barbara. Yeah, it's my mom's father. My grandpa used to call me Pootsy Baba. Aunt Barbara used to call me Dardanella Bodinia. What I've decided I'm calling my sister's son is, I'm calling him Stokely Delts. Because I started going through my Anna Fentel report. That's just like my genealogy going back to, I think, the year 1100 that my Aunt Barbara did for me before she passed away. And I sent it to my sister so that she could look at our, like, family names and see if she wanted to use any of them. And a couple generations back on my mom's side, we had a dude, a reverend, named Stokely Delts. What a great name. So that's what I'm calling my sister's baby. So here's where we're going to get to the text messages, and perhaps, I hope, maybe you'll understand why I'm confused and frustrated, but it's fucking weird. So, I gotta put on my glasses for this. We'll talk about my glasses in a minute. Alright, so, Wednesday, January 3rd. I texted my dad. The announcement won't be made until later, but I have an update on my sister's secret. It's a boy, due in mid-July. I'm going to have a nephew. I can't tell anyone until my sister is comfortable with her medical condition being known, because as of right now, it is her own private medical condition. She doesn't have to tell anybody anything. So I can't tell anyone until she decides to put it out there herself. But I have to share my feelings with someone. You and my sister are my two special someones. And my dad replied, Erilyn's name was Ice Person, in case of emergency. Heart. Erilyn's name was Ice Person. I know what he's talking about, so I'm gonna explain this to you real fucking quick. Erilyn Hughes is kind of like a locally known to Austin person. She is an actress, she's a writer, she just does all of the artsy things, right? I've gone to 2 of her stage performances. She did a one-woman show that I saw. She also did like a whole play stage production called Keeping It Weird, which is about living in Austin. She's always had like a pet pig, and she also, I think perhaps the most famous of all, if you've never seen her work or known anything about her, was that northbound Mopac, just south of Enfield, she had a house on the frontage road that was the weird house, right? And it was the weird house. That's what she's known for to, like, most people, but I know her because she worked in real estate at the same office that my dad did when I was little. And when he would take me to work with him and I was dicking around the office, she would bring me into her office and just, like, talk to me and hang out, and she was very cool. She's a very, very cool, very talented woman. She's hilarious. Anyway, the Ice Person, in case of emergency. Her one-woman show that I went to over 10 years ago, I think it was in 2013. She did this one-woman show. It was incredibly good. I heard one-woman show, and I was like, that a one-person, what does that mean? It was great. It was great. And it was called, I think, Ice, for in case of emergency. And the whole show is about how she didn't have, like, a husband or wife or a boyfriend or girlfriend, any kind of partner. I think most of her family was dead. So when she filled out paperwork, she didn't have anyone to put down for in case of emergency. And I don't know if you know this, but you can just write down 911 as your emergency contact. She, I guess, her whole woman show was this story about her, like, journey to, like, finding an ice person. And she tells us this, the whole beautiful story about, like, how she met her boyfriend and how the whole thing worked out, where, like, they set up a contract to be together, and it was like, once our agreement expires, we can then maybe decide if we want to try and renew it or not. They had a cute little setup, and the way that they met was very interesting. They were both in the same magazine on pages facing each other. And she was like, I'm gonna go meet that guy who was touching me in the magazine. That's my recollection. Anyway, Erilyn Hughes, one-woman show about an in case of emergency person. I had told my dad I have this exciting news about my sister and her baby. She's having a boy. And I wanted to tell you because you and my sister are my special people. And his reply was, Erlen's name was Ice Person, in case of emergency. So I'll go with it. I'll go with it. I said, I remember that about her. I remember her show. She didn't have an ice person. She set out trying to find someone she could list on her medical records. I always put you and my sister on my medical records when it allows two people. Try to bring it back, right? I said, I've never been without an ice person. That is a great privilege, and I am grateful for my people. My dad replied, Erlen is alive! I went to her birthday party a few years ago. Let's go see her. She's hilarious. I love you, sweetness. Heart. So I acknowledged what my dad said about Erlen, and I brought it back to where I was going, and he decided to stay where he was going with Erlen Hughes. She's alive, and he went to her birthday party a few years ago. So I replied to him, she is a bright and comical woman, talented writer, and an excellent performer. Is she still doing stage shows? He said, I don't think so. She was functionally blind last time I saw her. On Facebook, she is still going strong. I said, I love you too, Dad, with 2 little pink hearts. I like the 2 little pink hearts because he's the big heart and I'm the little one. And then I replied to his message about Erlen being functionally blind with like a sad sniffle face. And he replied, nothing will stop Erlen. I said I admire her tenacity, bummed for her dealing with declining vision, happy to hear her mental is still sharp. And he replied, she's amazing. Only woman I have known who had voluntary breast reduction surgery many years ago. She never talked about her history of abuse. She stays upbeat. I said, good for her. My dad replied, aging isn't easy, sometimes harder on the family than the person who is fading. I replied, Papa John had a great time wandering into random women's rooms in the old folks' home. He had no idea who we were when we came to visit, though. He thought his dresser was the setting sun over the ocean. So I tried to bring it back again. I acknowledged what he's saying I understand what he's talking about. I can relate. I've been there. I know. So, like, I told him the thing about my grandpa, who my dad knew. They played music together. My grandpa and my dad knew each other before my dad got with my mom. Same with how my dad knew my uncle, who's my godfather, before they both married sisters. Austin used to be a small town. Anyway, so I brought it back. I tried. I said, I am hopeful that neither my sister or I will fall victim to our BRCA mutation, and that neither of us will get dementia, that we can both live long and healthy for her boy. And then I sent him the picture of her sonogram. I'm trying to bring it back. Dad, acknowledge what I said about how I'm going to have a fucking nephew. Because, like, I've been an aunt to my friends' kids for years, but, like, this is really happening. My sister is my baby, and my baby's having a fucking baby. This is a big deal. For me, I guess, you know? And also, whoo! I am off the hook. Nobody's gonna be demanding grandkids from me. My sister took one for the team. Hey! So, the sonogram. And I said, he's the size of a lime right now. My dad replied with a link to a music video on YouTube. It's Bonnie Raitt, Nick of Time, live performance, November 26th, 1989, at the Henry J. Kaiser Auditorium. What the fuck, Dad? I'm sorry. Like, I love my dad, so I feel like I don't want to fucking complain about him on the internet. But, like, I don't understand this. And I showed all this to my fucking psychiatrist during therapy, and she was like, what is he doing? I don't know. So I just replied to his music video saying, thank you for being happy for my sister's name and me. I'm not saying my sister's name on here because, like, this is about me. Me and Erlen Hughes. A couple days later, I had another weird exchange with my dad. We don't have to get into it, but I'm confused. I'm confused. I don't get it. What the fuck? Why is this like an avoidant thing on his part? he seems to struggle with self-awareness a good bit. Because we don't have to get into my entire lifetime of knowing my dad, but at least when I know that I'm doing these like avoidant maladaptive behaviors, I know that I'm doing it. I have anxiety about the fact that I'm doing it, and I'm rapidly trying to figure out just the right thing that what am I supposed to say? What am I, right? Changing the subject repeatedly and refusing to acknowledge every time I circled back was very strange. And then after I went, yeah, Erlen, thank you for your support, because that was very passive-aggressive of me, right? Because he wasn't supportive, he wasn't acknowledging at all. He kept changing the fucking subject to his friend Erlen fucking Hughes! Sorry. So when I just said, thank you for being happy for us, or whatever, like, the thing is, I said that knowing that, like, I was being passive-aggressive because he wasn't supportive or happy. He didn't do that. But just saying it was probably not going to make him realize that. He was probably going to think that because I thanked him for doing something, he must have done it. Right? So let's talk about some other things real quick before I get out of here. Okay, so last June, after I'd gotten my eyeglass prescription updated, I had a pair of frames that I wanted to put my lenses in. They were the same style as my old ones. Let me show you. So these are my old frames, the first pair of glasses that I ever had. They are vintage Hello Kitty knockoffs. They were sunglasses, and they have like little holes right here where you can screw a bow onto them. They come with a bow. When I first got glasses, I was like, oh my god, I have to wear the same thing on my face every day. I know, right? I was dramatic about it, but it freaked me out because it's my face. And also, like, I cannot stick to an aesthetic. Like, I do not have a consistent aesthetic. I like to style myself in all kinds of different ways. I cannot stick to any one thing. So, like, having to consistently wear the same thing every day was really weird for me. So, when I got my prescription updated, I had these frames. They were also sunglasses. They had a little pink bow right here. And I wanted the same thing. I wanted my prescription lenses put in them. Well, when I'd gotten my first pair of glasses, I took the frames to the Target Optical, and the Target Optical mailed them off to their people, and then a couple weeks later, like, I came back and picked them up. It was like $130. A good friend of mine told me that that was pretty good and normal, and my good friend recommended me a different, like, local optical that, as much as I want to support local businesses, I don't have a job that supports my local wallet enough for me to have supported that local business. I talked to my psychiatrist about it. I go to her for everything. She recommended that I go to Warby Parker. So I went to Warby Parker and I showed them the frames, and they said, we can't do customs, but we can sell you our unique frames. And she explained to me the reason why they don't have the technological capabilities to do, like, custom frames. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not because you're Turks. So she was like, if you want to get those custom frames, like, you can either go to Sam's Club or try LensDirect.com. So I drove straight over to Sam's Club Optical, and I took a number and I waited. It was my turn. I talked to the guy and he looked at them and he went, you know, we do a lot of custom fittings, but, like, I don't think we're going to be able to do these because these are kind of a old style in their sunglasses. I said, I understand. I just don't want to go back to the Target Optical and pay $130 to get lenses put into a $10 pair of frames. So the fellow at the Sam's Club told me my best bet was LensDirect.com because they are a bigger company. They have the machine technology where they can, like, do, like, a laser outline of whatever frames you have and then make the lenses specifically to fit those. So I got on LensDirect.com. I paid my money or whatever. Still, it was a lot cheaper. I think it was like $65 than the $130 that Target charged me. Mailed my lenses off to LensDirect. They're in, like, Garden City, New Jersey. And I waited. And I waited. And I waited. And I waited. My glasses never came back in the mail. I started trying to track the package and contact the company. I mean, it had been over a month, and I was like, it couldn't be taking that long, right? So I looked at the tracking, and for weeks, there had been no movement on my package. Like, Lynn's Direct had mailed my shit back to me. It had come back to town. It was in my city. And it just hadn't been moving. I contacted the post office a few times. And eventually, I got a voicemail from a postal worker at my local post office. And he said that they had indeed scanned my package into their facility. It had arrived there. But they couldn't find it. They had it somewhere in the building, but they didn't know where it went. And I was like, well, fuck, dude, like, what? You lost it in the building? It's not like you even lost it in fucking transit. It's there on site somewhere. And y'all just don't know? Weirdos. So my glasses were lost. My prescription was out of date. And I had already been out the money. I'd already spent the money for the glasses, and I didn't have the glasses. I didn't want to spend more money on another pair of glasses, right? Because I didn't have it. I already spent it. So I got on painglass.com, and I just ordered these clear frames. My total was probably $35, $37 or whatever, and that is what I've been wearing. So all of that went down in like July of 2023. So this past Saturday, I was checking my mail, and in the mailbox was this box that said Lynn's Direct. And I thought, oh no. Did I like order new glasses and forget about it? And then I saw on the postmark on the label was like July 23rd, 2023. I got so excited. And I brought the box inside and I opened it, and here they are. My new glasses. They finally came. Hopefully, I'll get some mileage out of them before the prescription is no longer up to date. But I mean, if that happens, I can just send my first pair of glasses back and have them update the prescription on those. I like these frames. They're comfy. Anyway, we had a freeze recently. It was like an entire week where like the high was, I think, 32. Fortunately, there was no precipitation. But when the windshield washer fluid in my car froze, the pump seems to have broken. So I tried to take my car into the shop today to get it fixed. And as I was driving on my way there, I saw this dude with a fucking like DSLR camera like vlogging mount. And he was like looking at this piece of heavy machinery on the sidewalk. And it wasn't like a large piece of heavy machinery. It was more like a little, one of those accordion thing. It wasn't a cherry picker, but it was like one of those accordion lifts. At first glance, I thought, oh, he works with this company that is doing this work with the machinery, and he's like documenting their work so they can show future clients what they do. No, because as he finished filming the machinery, he just kept walking down the sidewalk, just going on about his day. There are some vlogging motherfuckers in my city. Oh my God. They should be embarrassed. They should feel embarrassed. Because the times that I've tried to vlog in public, fucking embarrassing, which is why I don't do it. So I got to the shop where I was taking my car. It was the Pep Boys, because I had a very interesting time last time I was there. We don't have to talk about it today, but I made friends with some dudes who were like openly vaping weed in the lobby, and they offered me a shot of apple flavored Crown Royal, and I fucking accepted. So I had a good time last time at Pep Boys. I decided to go back. They didn't have time for me today to fix my windshield washer pump. That's fine. I'm going back tomorrow. And now, I guess what I'm going to do is go help my cousin clean out her family heirlooms so that her father can move his new girlfriend into their family home. Because it's pretty painful for my uncle who cared for his wife and watched her die of cancer. I think it's really difficult for him to try and go through all of those things in their home himself. So I'm gonna help my cousin out with that. And I'm sorry this was all over the place, but that's what's been going on. I want to thank you for listening. I feel like Forgiveness is very important, so I want you to forgive yourself for the time that you have wasted watching this video. And forgive me for having dipped out of YouTube for like a month and a half. I will try to be more consistent going forward. And have a good day!